Please be seated. Good evening and welcome to the annual meeting of Melton Borough Council. This is the first face-to-face meeting of the council held since last March, and I'm delighted that we are in a position to meet once again. Though due to public health requirements, there are a number of changes to the way we will undertake proceedings, which I will come to shortly. Members are reminded that we will be using the new audio-visual system this evening. Whilst the new system provides many enhanced functions, for our first meeting, we will only be using a microphone function to allow us all to become familiar with how it operates. The meeting will also be streamed live on YouTube. There's a quick reference card placed on the desk in front of you, which provides instructions on how to use a basic speaking function of a microphone. Members are asked to physically raise their hands in the usual way to indicate if they wish to speak, and to use the microphones when speaking for the benefit of all present. The microphone is live when the red light displays. Every effort has been made to keep the meeting procedures as close to those we would usually follow. Please switch mobile phones to silent. Members are asked to wear a face covering for the duration of a meeting, but may remove face coverings while standing to speak. Should you need to leave the room during the meeting, unless it is an emergency evacuation when emergency exits should be used, please use the marked exit and entrance. At the end of the meeting, there will be a controlled exit. Members are asked to remain in their seats until they are directed to leave the chamber. I will now provide a reminder of the evacuation procedure. In the event of having to evacuate the council chamber, please leave by one of the 6 emergency exits around the sides of the chamber. Please assemble at the far side of the front car park nearest to the park entrance. Officers will be on hand to assist persons who require any assistance. Public recording of a meeting. There is legislation that allows the public to film, record, or use social media at council meetings. This must not be disruptive to the good order of the meeting, nor include any filming or recording of a public seating area. The Reverend Kevin Ashby will now offer prayers through the remote link.
So let us pray. We pray, O God, for those who hold office on this borough council and in the life of this borough, for all in various ways serve the community, especially in these difficult times. We thank you for the contribution of Councillor Melise Graham as Mayor. And we pray for Councillor Peter Faulkner as he takes on this important role. May all councillors wisely and faithfully exercise the authority committed to them and promote the common good for all people. We ask these things for your name's sake. Amen.
Amen. Kevin, thank you very much, and thank you all you've done to help me during my 2 years as Mayor. It's been very much appreciated. Thank you. Apologies for absence, and I can see no. So we have apologies from Councillor Alan Pearson, Councillor Robert Child, and Councillor Chris Evans. Any other apologies? Any member wishing to give apologies raise their hand? Nope. Motion variation to procedure rules. To assist with the smooth running of a meeting, and for this meeting only, I ask members to agree to vary Part 1, Section 17.3 of the Council Meeting Procedure Rules to allow for voting by the consent of a room rather than taking a roll call of all members. If carried, the effect of this motion will be that for the remainder of the meeting, a positive vote will be assumed from all members unless any member raises an objection by raising their hand when requested to do so. Should any members indicate they wish to vote against or abstain, the votes against abstaining will be counted to ascertain the outcome of the vote. For clarity, the vote on this motion to vary the rules as described will be taken by a show of hands. Can I have a proposer and a seconder for the motion, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm very pleased to propose the motion to variation to the procedure rules. Thank you very much. And happy to second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. So now if we will go to vote, any hands, show of hands against or abstentions? No, that's been carried. Thank you very much. Minutes. To confirm the minutes of the council meeting held on the 24th of March 2021. Council also move.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very pleased to move the minutes of the 24th of March 2021. Thank you. And to second.
Thank you very much. All members in favour of that? Nobody against? No, that's been carried. Thank you very much. Declarations of interest. Members, please indicate if you have an interest to declare by raising hands. May I remind members that a member with a personal interest must declare the interest at the beginning of the meeting, but can take part in the debate and consent to the meeting. A member with a disclosable pecuniary interest or a pecuniary interest has to declare it and cannot take part in the debate or vote on the matter, and as such must leave the meeting for that item. A personal interest in respect of County Councillors Alston and Posnett is taken as being on record for any matters which relate to the Leicestershire County Council. We got any other interests? No, thank you very much. Mayor's announcements. Good evening and welcome back to our council chamber, which is hopefully a small step towards normality. Over my time on this council, I have seen many highs and lows. Now, as we hopefully emerge from a very strange COVID-limited 15 months, a few of us will remember that on Sunday, it is the 13th anniversary of that day in 2008, when 2/3 of our council offices were burnt down. Many thought it was a disaster, but it was not something that we could deal, and it was something we could not deal with. It is testament to the fact that as councillors and officers working together as a team, we can create a council that can face all issues and serve those in our borough in a manner that we can all be proud of. Now that my 2-year stint as mayor is ended, I would like to thank you all for your support, for which I'm so grateful. I, like you, are fully aware that it is not the individual that is recognised, but it is the post. Now I am leaving that position, I'm allowed to make a plea that we look after those who follow. Of course, when times are normal, it takes over your life, especially weekends and evenings, bank holidays, etc. And not only is it the councillor who gives up a year of their life, but also whoever serves our council in a totally unrewarded way as their consort. I do believe that being mayor is an honour that all councillors should aspire to, as there is no better way of discovering what goes on in our borough. This neatly leads me on to the debt and thanks I owe to the one person who has made my last 2 years possible and such fun. The position is only possible if you have the support of someone you can laugh with at the many strange things that occur. And in my case, it's my wife, Pam. Not only has she fully supported me, but during this past year of restrictions, she has had to double up as a film director, producer, cameraman for the broadcasts that I've done for various events and organizations. I know that she joins me in thanking the council so much for the wonderful flowers that were delivered to our home today, as COVID regulations would not allow the presentation. I would also like to thank Natasha and her really strong team for their help and support, which has helped our 2 years run so smoothly. Victoria, who organised the really fun summer party we had in this chamber, with all officers and members, and all including my family, who joined me, who supported my very first and my very last sky jump. I'd like to close by wishing Peter a really fun year as our mayor, and a special and heartfelt thanks to Elaine, who I know as the mayor's consort will be a tremendous source of support to him. Thank you. Election of mayor. To receive nominations for the mayor for the period of the annual meeting in 2022. Nominations for Councillor Peter Faulkner. Councillor Cumbers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm extremely happy to nominate Councillor Faulkner to the position of Mayor. Peter is local, having grown up in Queensway, Old Albay. He attended the village school, then John Fernley, then the upper school. He became apprenticed to Rearsby Components, continuing his education at Melton College and then Leicester College, and then worked for many years in engineering. Peter has 3 sons from his first marriage. He later married Elaine, and they have been married for 22 years. Peter and Elaine started a wedding car and stretch limousine hire business. This progressed to the private hire and taxi business that they have today. I first met Peter when I was mayor in 2005, and Peter often drove me to mayoral functions. Peter told me recently that that was when he first became interested in politics. So it's nice for me to think that I am part of the reason that he's here today. Over the years, Peter has been very community-minded, a Cub Scout leader at many of the Melton district groups, Group Scout leader at both the 3rd Melton and the 1st Melton groups, and also the chair of the local Scout Fellowship. He was a parent governor at John Fernley and a football referee for many years, and rose to be a Class 1 referee. Peter was elected to Egerton Ward in 2015, 2017 and 2019, with a gap in the middle of them. He's known to be a very conscientious ward member and a very effective councillor. So I'm very pleased and honoured to nominate Councillor Peter Faulkner to be Mayor for the Borough of Melton. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Alston.
Thank you very much. I'm pleased to second Councillor Cumber's motion to propose Councillor Faulkner to be mayor. I've been looking back actually in my own history, and actually I've known Peter for over 50 years now, even longer than I've known Elaine. So it goes to show how far we've gone back. I remember Peter was a cub, and then he became a scout, then he became a venture scout, then he became a venture scout organizer. What I didn't know was he had an interest in agriculture. What was it, president of the Limousine Society or something like that. Then I had to suddenly read it again. And you meant cars, didn't you, not cattle? But it certainly fooled me when I first read it, Peter. Peter, I mean, what can I say about Peter when it comes to the politics? He's the only Conservative who's won in Egerton Ward 3 times. That has never been done by anyone else. As we know, Egerton is the most challenging ward for a councillor in the town to win, but Peter's won it 3 times. And that goes to show what the respect he has in the ward. And he's well known, he's a taxi driver. Thinking about it, Peter, you're never going to be short of a limousine to take you home now, are you, from all the functions that hopefully you'll be going to. You'll have a secret number, I'm sure, to get a taxi out from Melton. I just hope that you kept to the promise of 2 years ago, Peter, where you promised me that if you became mayor, you would buy Elaine a new dress. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Any further nominations? As approved through the earlier motion, a positive vote will be assumed by all members unless they confirm their intention to vote against or abstain. So if you wish to vote against or abstain regarding nomination, please indicate by raising your hand. Good. Councillor Faulkner will now read and sign the declaration of office. The Chief Executive will sign the declaration following the meeting to confirm it has been signed in his presence as proper officer. The Mayor and the Mayor's Consort will be invested with a chain of office.
I, Peter Faulkner, having been elected to the office of Mayor of Melton Borough Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I, Thank you very much. Bring the others off it. Well, thank you to Councillor Cumbers for the proposal and Councillor Lawson for seconding. Yes, it was certainly was Councillor Cumbers that whetted my appetite to become a councillor from all the journeys that we made together in 2005. So that was my first look at the idea of being a councillor. After that, it was a meeting with Val Manderson that finally convinced me it was the time to put my name forward. As Joe pointed out, I did promise to buy Elaine a new dress. Well, it's not a dress that she's wearing tonight, but she's got a new dress as well. And yes, Lee, I did pay for it. Lastly, I'd like to thank Councillor Graham for keeping the seat warm for me for the extra year. Members, officers and members of the public here in person and watching the live stream on YouTube. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you all to the Melton Borough Council Master Ball. I have very few announcements to make at this time because things are only just beginning to happen again. Although we wait all year for an invitation to attend a function and to turn up on the same day at the same time, so I'll be calling on my deputy to step in quite early. The items in the diary so far are flying the flag, an event at Stappleford Park and the Cycle Classic that ends in Melton. And today I also got an invitation from the Beaver Hunt to their puppy show. Apart from all the civic events that I will be attending as part of my duties to promote the town, I would like to visit as many businesses in the borough as I can to help promote them all after such a terrible year. As well as all the civic duties that the mayor attends, there is another important function that is traditionally carried out by the mayor, and that is fundraising. And I look forward to raising as much as possible for my chosen charity. I'd like to introduce my chosen charity with one word: cancer. Now, just the mere mention of this word can fill a person with dread. It is bad enough when it's an elderly person, but when a doctor sits down with a young family and says, "I'm very sorry, but your child has cancer," that has got to be one of the worst things in the world. In that instant, the whole family life is thrown up in the air and their world caves in. This happened to a family that I know well a few years ago. Unfortunately, after many years of treatment and a lot of heartache, their son is now clear of cancer. The help this family received during their journey and the link with Sir Malcolm Sargent, who was the choir master at this town, is the reason that I've chosen Click Sargent to be my chosen charity. I've got something here from Click Sargent. Click Sargent, Young Lives versus Cancer, aims for everyone under 25 with cancer and their families to get the help they need throughout their treatment and beyond, so that no family has to face cancer alone. From diagnosis, Click Sargent's specialist care teams are there, providing expert support tailored to each child or young person and family. Last year, the team of care professionals based at Leicester Royal Infirmary supported 148 children, young adults and families. One of the key elements of the support that was provided is helping families with the many financial issues they face. Families spend on average an extra £6,000 every month as a result of their child's cancer diagnosis. This can include daily travel to the hospital, parking and food while there, increased heating bills once home and support equipment. Children may have to stay in hospital for many months at a time and will also attend frequent appointments following discharge from hospital, which results in a huge financial and practical challenge for families. These costs are often combined with a significant drop in income, with many parents having to stop work completely to care for their child. Yet families have to wait for 3 months before applying for government benefits. This puts families under great financial pressure, which can affect a parent's ability to cope and support their child emotionally. The care team in Leicester ensures young people and families get the financial assistance they need. The social workers help families secure financial support, including Click Sergeant Young Lives versus Cancer care grants, other charitable grants and benefits. They refer families to the Welfare Advice Service, liaise with workplaces over time off for parents, and sort out housing issues. In the past year, Click Sergeant Young Lives versus Cancer has provided 92 grants to the values of £70,100 to young people and families attending hospital in Leicester, and they expect to provide a similar amount to families again this year. Could we run the video, please?
Back in 2010, when Amber was only 8 months old, she was diagnosed with a brain tumour. It's in the centre of her head. It caused her a lot of problems, a lot of health issues, and us a lot of heartache. I could probably drive this with my eyes closed now. We've been coming for 8+ years. It's been long, but it also hasn't felt like 2 minutes now. Looking back when I first met our Click Sergeant social worker, it's quite a surreal memory how she seemed to just appear in front of us and she said, "I'm here to help." And at a time when we were feeling very lost.
Oh, big squeeze.
Good to see you. How you doing? I'd like to think Louise and I have got a very close relationship. It's something very special. I don't feel I have to protect her. So when I'm having the really rubbish days and I need to have an offload, that I can do it safely with her.
You'll still fit into those lovely pink sparkly shoes. Yeah.
I don't have to worry that I'm going to upset her. I don't have to protect her feelings that I sometimes feel that I do with my sisters, because I don't want to upset them. It's hard for me to tell them how poorly their niece is. I have had a lot of emotional help from Click Sergeant. Simple hugs mean the world when it's scan time and you're terrified of what the result could be. But they did come to a point where I needed more than just some hugs. She's supportive in gently pointing out I needed to see the GP. And we were very lucky in Sheffield that there is somewhere to access for counselling that is specific to those who have been affected by a cancer diagnosis. Louise, our Click Sergeant social worker, was vital, because I don't think without that nudge that I'd have gone. I'd have just kept swimming, but I wasn't able to swim anymore. I was drowning. Click Sergeant have really helped us with our family finances, and it's such an uncomfortable conversation to have to go to somebody and say, I need help with our money. We are not able to manage it without some support. They've got lavender. Louise gave me the confidence to approach the council to get some housing benefit and council tax benefit. I was able to claim carers allowance and disability living allowance. You've got to swallow your pride a little bit to go and do it. Well, it's going to go in our garden, so we can remember today. What do you say? Thank you. They were able to sign posters to other charities, so we were able to get grants for white goods for the house when our washer broke, and they've provided us with grants for holidays, so we've been able to get away. We even were given the information of a charity who provided Amber's bed for her, so she was able to get a big girl bed. There's just teddies everywhere. How is there any room for you? Click Sergeant were able to help because it was a great place to sound out my concerns. They reassured me that we were not the only family feeling lost. We were not the only family feeling desperately hurt and upset. And in a world where there's so much unknown, they were the constant. When everything else could change so quickly, I always knew that they were there for us.
Thank you. I hope that a bit short video showed you the sort of work that Click Sergeant do to help families. Next, to receive a vote of thanks for the retiring Mayor, Councillor Holmes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, new Mayor. It is with the greatest pleasure and honour that I thank you, our outgoing Mayor. Councillor Graham is unique in that he has been our Mayor for the last 2 years, has virtually been his own secretary with little support, sadly, from the council, a state which I hope will be rectified for our next civic leader. How fortunate it has been to have the brilliant help from devoted wife Pam and his daughters and sons-in-law, and even his grandchildren. On Zoom meetings, one young man often shared his chair. In his first year, the chosen charity, of course, was Rainbows. A parachute jump was organised. This is where bravery came in. Our Mayor is not fond of heights, but for his charity, he did it. The rest of the family also jumped, except one daughter who substituted her husband as she was pregnant. Even she didn't get away with it, as she had to crawl, a sponsored crawl, with the grandchildren. Everyone who attended the civic service in the village church of Sprosen had to agree that it was just simply the best ever. The whole service was choreographed by one son-in-law who also played the organ. Then on to the village hall for delicious food made and prepared by the ladies of Sprosen. Apart from very few civic duties in lockdown, has made most of this year a non-event, but our Mayor has still been working hard for our borough in the background. On the death of Prince Philip, the tribute in the Melton Times our Mayor gave was so respectful and completely right. On a lighter note, but not very successful, we have shares in a racehorse. I rather think Melise would have hoped Royal Ascot the target, but I understand from the horse's mouth he will be running in 2 weeks' time. I saw Nipper on Monday and he sends you a small gift, which apparently I can't give to you at the moment, but you'll have to come and get it. Thank you from all of us for your dedication and hard work you have done to represent us all this last 2 years. Thank you very much, Melise and Pam.
Thank you, Councillor Holmes. Seconder, Councillor Rebecca Smith.
Hi, I'm very happy to second the vote of thanks in Councillor Graham. For those of us who are relatively new to the world of politics, becoming a councillor can be very daunting, especially when surrounded by members with so much experience and some who have been doing this even since before I was born. And although you wouldn't believe it when you look at him, this is how long Melise has been representing the people of the Borough of Melton for. You would think that after all those years, his motivation and dedication to his role would have begun to decline. However, from what I've seen, the exact opposite has been true. He has represented the people of the Borough of Melton and our council at more events in his time as Mayor than I can count. And as promised at the AGM 2 years ago, he has made his time as Mayor fun. That is, if you would class throwing yourself out of a plane at 10,000 feet. Once the pandemic hit, the council quickly had to adapt to social distancing and working from home. Alongside the officers and staff here at Parkside, Melise took on the challenge without batting an eye. Zoom has been a challenge for all of us at times, with countless cries of, "Can you hear me?" and "You're on mute." But as ever, Melise has been a star, quite literally in fact, as some avid watchers one evening named him the Emperor, and I do hope the power didn't go to his head. Despite the pandemic and all of the new challenges he faced, Melise continued his role with gusto, laying the wreath on Remembrance Day, commemorating the anniversary of lockdown, and substituting public events with some fantastic recorded messages. I would politely ask that we forget the incident with the tree in the country park. Finally, I would like to give my personal thanks to Melise. As I mentioned before, as someone who started out so young and inexperienced, it was very easy to become anxious around someone with the knowledge and experience of Melise. However, his support, kindness, and fun-loving spirit has never wavered. Melise has been a fantastic mayor, going above and beyond what any of us expected at that AGM back in 2019, and we are so grateful for your service. Thank you.
Election of Deputy Mayor. To receive nominations for Deputy Mayor for the period until the annual general meeting in 2022. Nomination, Councillor Alan Hewson, to be proposed by Councillor Elaine Holmes.
My goodness, it's me getting up and down, not as often as some others, but still. I am delighted to propose Councillor Hewson as our new Deputy Mayor. Now, just a few facts about him. He was born at the Brickyard, Scorford, actually in a cottage, not outside. He was one of twins. His father, I understand, asked the midwife what sex the baby was. When she answered a boy, he said, well, the next one will be a free gift. And she was. 15 minutes later, Angela arrived. To the pleasure of his parents, from an early age, it was obvious farming was going to be his life. Joining Melton Young Farmers, his main interest, apart from girls, was stock judging, taking him far and wide, very often winning. Hence, many shooting sticks still around, generally the prize for stock judging. His mother was so proud of his achievements. His white coat, which was a requirement for these competitions, was always blue bag white. Some of the younger ones, probably Rebecca wouldn't know what a blue bag was, but I can tell you it makes blue whiter than white. And starch, these coats were, so much so that they could stand up on their own, but her son was always the best turned out stock judger. In later life, he married and had twin sons. Unfortunately, the marriage didn't last. He is now extremely happy with his wife and great support, Jane. Actually, I don't think we'll have any problem with refreshments and cooking, because Jane is an excellent cook, and her mince pies, I'm sure, are even better than mine. His sons in their chosen careers are doing well. Robert works for LCC and Dave is a butcher. Alan is an extremely caring person belonging to the team of support for farmers. Unfortunately, there are more suicides within the farming industry than any other. As I have said before, I am delighted to propose Councillor Alan Hewson for our next Deputy Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Holmes. Seconded by Councillor Mel Steadman.
Thank you. I'm delighted to second this nomination. Councillor Hewson and his wife are very well respected members of our community and will represent our villages and rural market town in equal measure, bringing in integrity and kindness to everybody they meet. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Steadman. I'd like to invite any further nominations. Okay, none of those. So Councillor Orson will provide a short statement.
I just want to say a few words, actually, because, yeah, as I said earlier, I'll go back a long way now, like Elaine does. And when I was a child, farming dominated the local political. And is tending to think of Hickling and my own village, Old Olby. Residents moved into the village. They didn't particularly like the dairy cows walking up and down the main street 4 times a day. In Hickling, you had 3 big herds, and you will remember, Peter. So you had a crossing over, and one day they all got mixed up, if you remember. But there goes another story. And what happened was, I encouraged farmers to look towards moving out the village, selling off the buildings for conversions or whatever it is, moved out, new farmstead, everything was hunky-dory. The downside to that was that stopped the agricultural community coming into the villages, supporting their church, supporting the local charities. And it is a sad step, but just recently I've noticed that there is a return to the agricultural interest within the local areas, supporting their areas, supporting local politics. Recently, Brian Lovegrove got elected at the County Council representing Beaver. Whilst not a farmer, he's massively associated with farming, as you well know. Alan, he comes from a long line of farmers up there at Eastwell. I can remember when the wind turbines went through. I can remember some of the villagers were against that night. And but what harm has they done? It's just an opportunity. So I think it was just about the first wind turbines in Melton Mowbray. I think those two were. Very highly respected family, and I'm absolutely delighted Alan's accepted to be our deputy mayor and mayor for next year. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Rawson. There being no further nominations, I would like to now move on to seeking the approval as with the earlier motion. A positive vote will be assumed by all members unless they confirm their intention to vote against or abstain. Should you wish to vote against the nomination to elect Councillor Hewson as Deputy Mayor, please indicate by raising your hand now. Thank you. No objections that way. If you wish to abstain, please raise your hand now. No, so that motion is carried. I think Natasha is supposed to confirm that for me. Yeah. Right, so investiture of the Deputy Mayor. Councillor Hewson will now read and sign the declaration of office. The Chief Executive will sign the declaration following the meeting to confirm it has been signed in the presence of the proper officer. The Deputy Mayor and Consort will be invested with the chains of office.
Thank you. I, Alan Hewson, having been elected to the office of Deputy Mayor for Melton Borough Council, declare that I will take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully and fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. Right, I'd just like to say thank you for this opportunity to be Deputy Mayor. I'd really like to say thank you, Elaine, I suppose, for the start, because it's Elaine that cajoled me in the beginning to actually come onto the council. Elaine has quite a way of saying things so you can actually say yes instead of no. I think it's a skill she gained in your farmers. But I think it's to take on this Deputy Mayor and hopefully to support Peter to the best of my ability, just to give an opportunity to represent Melton will be a real honour for me to do. I'd just also like to thank the council for the flowers that came for Jane today. Just, yes, to say thank you. And somebody said to me, oh, why did they ask you to be Deputy Mayor? I said, well, I don't know really. We got to this meeting and they said, just step forward if you want to be Deputy Mayor. And I looked round and everybody else had took a pace backwards. And so I think that's how it happened. So thank you very much. And I hope to work with you, Peter, and be a good support for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hewson. Nomination notification by the leader of the appointment to the cabinet. But before we get on to that, I've got two councillors that wish to say some words. First one being Councillor Cumbers.
Congratulations first on your election, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for allowing me to speak. I would really just like to thank Councillor Orson for his leadership over the past 2 years. Like us all, he's had to cope with the pandemic, but there have been some additional difficulties for him as leader, mostly external. But he hasn't allowed those irritating external problems to get him down. Despite being two-hatted, Joe has always supported Melton causes. An important example is the proposed new doctor's surgery. When Latham House came into being, the town had far fewer residents than it does now. Initially, Joe's proposal for a second surgery was somewhat resisted by the CCG, but he managed to convince them of its importance. And now they have accepted, the CCG have accepted the principle of a second surgery. On a more personal level, I would like to add that when the pandemic started, many councils decided that scrutiny could be put to one side. But in Melton, Joe was certain that scrutiny was as important as ever, and his support for scrutiny has helped to ensure that scrutiny has been effective. So many thanks, Joe, and thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Cumbers. Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I completely agree with Councillor Cumbers, and as a new councillor, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our leader, Joe Orson, for all your continued hard work and guidance during a particularly difficult year. Joe has always been very open, approachable, and has shown great leadership skills. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Councillor Fisher. Councillor Orson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Madam Mayor, and congratulations on your being elevated, shall we say, to this wonderful position. And genuinely, I hope you have a great year. I think you indicated earlier, it looks like being a slow start, but certainly by what I understand, things are gathering really quickly now. So I'm sure by the time we get to July, you won't know which way to turn for spare time. Just very quickly, thank you very much to Councillor Cumbers and Fisher for their very kind words. In keeping with the public health requirements, I will keep my review of the year relatively brief before moving on to confirm the appointments to the council's cabinet. It has been a year like no other, and I have said many times how proud I am of how this council responded to the COVID crisis. We have saved lives and protected livelihoods, delivering 3,000 food parcels, 300 medical supplies, and nearly £19 million in business grants. We hosted 48 remote meetings, and following what I perceive as the ridiculous decision of not to allow those to continue, we have organised tonight a COVID-secure annual meeting and installed new audio-visual equipment to ensure the public can continue to watch our meetings on YouTube. Earlier this month, our incredible election team ran a COVID-secure combined election for the County Council, Police and Crime Commissioner, and 4 neighbourhood planning referendums. Members, we should never underestimate the amount of work involved in running an election in normal circumstances, but to do so during a pandemic is an incredible effort. I personally thought it all went very smoothly, and whilst I know accuracy is more important than speed, I couldn't help but enjoy seeing Melton being one of the fastest boroughs in the county to declare its results. I'd also like to thank all the candidates who took part in that county council election. I haven't counted them, but I suspect it was around 20. Until you've actually stood, you don't realise what a brave thing it is, because you do open yourself up to scrutiny from everyone. And certainly any candidate would have had emails, I'm sure, asking questions. all sorts of questions. I've never had so many as a candidate actually on this time. So thank you to all those candidates who did stand and put themselves up. I also congratulate Pam on being returned to the County Council, and also welcome the election of Councillor Lovegrove and Councillor Frisbee on their elections for Beaver and the Melton West, I think, isn't it? I'm a bit confused. I will be inviting Councillor Lovegrove and Councillor Frisbee in to meet the Chief Executive and myself very, very shortly, so we can discuss the various issues and how we can improve the standard of life and the and everything that goes with Melton Mowbray. Other notable achievements over the last year include implementing the new digital customer self-service platform, IEG4, and the continued improvement in our housing services as we reverse the chronic decline in the quality of council homes. This will remain a priority, as well as developing a programme to start building council homes again. To support the economic recovery, working with Brooksby Melton College and the livestock market, we have launched a trailblazing food enterprise centre and will shortly be launching a new Discover Melton website and destination map to promote all the area has to offer. We are developing a new longer-term town centre strategy, as well as providing more immediate investment in signage, floral displays, and repainting the street furniture. Investment is also going into the country park to ensure it continues to be recognised as one of the jewels in Melton's crown. On infrastructure, we were one of 15 areas to secure reopening our railways funding as we develop a business case for improvements between Melton and Nottingham. Discussions on the MMDR investment have continued throughout, and we will do whatever we can do to help, but ultimately the decision whether to accept the housing infrastructure funding rests purely with the County Council, and we wait on them for the next steps. The leisure sector has been badly affected by the pandemic, and we have had to provide significant financial support to everyone active to enable our leisure centres to stay open. This reinforces the importance of our plans to find a sustainable future for leisure services. We are working closely with the CCG to develop a place-led health plan and assess the feasibility of the health and leisure park, which could include the second GP surgery we are working hard to deliver. Mr. Mayor, as we know, it is 2 years since we fundamentally changed our governance arrangements, and it was timely earlier this year to invite the LGA to review progress and offer some recommendations for further improvement. We have taken those on board, and in forming my cabinet, I have recognised the need to increase leadership capacity, and so we will return to a 6-member cabinet this year. And also, Mr. Mayor, for the very first time, I will be appointing 1 cabinet support member role to assist with ensuring we deliver our new corporate strategy. We will continue to be a collaborative cabinet who work with members across the council as we support our community and recovery from COVID. Mr. Mayor, I'm delighted tonight to confirm that Councillor Higgins will continue in his role as Deputy Leader, retaining his responsibility for the Growth and Prosperity portfolio. He will continue to focus on supporting the local economic recovery, as well as overseeing our longer-term strategic growth aspirations. Despite the incredible uncertainty created by the pandemic, Councillor de Boer continues to maintain an excellent grip on our resources and has agreed to carry on to be our Chancellor, enabling us to deliver a balanced budget for the 2nd year in a row. Along his existing responsibilities, he will also now incorporate wider governance responsibilities into his expanded portfolio. Councillor Freer has done an excellent job leading the implementation of IEG4, the community grants review, and kickstarting the council's climate change agenda. As part of our increase in focus on the environment, I have now asked her to take on responsibility for waste, recycling, and environmental services too. For the final two positions, I'm delighted to welcome two new colleagues to the Cabinet, having split what previously was a large portfolio. Councillor Brown will bring his extensive expertise in housing management to the newly created Council Homes and Landlord Services portfolio. He will oversee our continuing housing improvement journey and work with a team to establish a new council house build programme. With his great passion for supporting the most vulnerable, Councillor Graham will take on the newly created People and Communities portfolio, giving focus to work we do with our partners to tackle inequalities, reduce crime and support our priority neighbourhoods. Mr. Mayor, I'm absolutely delighted to be able to call upon such capable and experienced colleagues to join the Cabinet in these new roles. Finally, as I mentioned earlier, it is my intention to nominate Councillor Wilkinson as a Cabinet support member. I do this now informally, but have asked the Constitutional Review Working Group and Independent Remuneration Panel to undertake the necessary work for this role to be formally established. It is my intention that a report will be brought forward back to our July meeting to confirm this. I understand all members, you've received a copy of the portfolio breakdown along the executive scheme of delegation for your information. My Cabinet and I do look forward to working with you all. And just to, although I said finally once, I'm going to say finally again, just to inform you all that the Chief Executive and I have sent a letter to the owner of Leicester City for their success in winning the FA Cup. I just have to say for the very first time, and those who aren't Leicester supporters will know what I mean by that. But they did well. It's not just so much about the joy they brought to Melton Town as the people who really follow Leicester City. That's great. It's also about the economy of the East Midlands. It is absolutely fantastic, the buzz that a winning team creates. Leicester Tigers are picking up as well. And again, you're picking up on the excitement there with the supporters. And that will rub off into the Melton economy. So well done to Leicester City. And like I say, we have sent a letter to congratulate. I can't pronounce the chairman's name or the owner's name, to be honest. But you can anyone pronounce it? No, you don't. But you know who all I mean anyway. So well done, Leicester City. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lawson. Now on to item 9, political balance and allocation of seats to political groups. I'll now hand over to the monitoring officer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report seeks the approval of the political balance calculation of the council, the number of voting places and allocation of seats on the relevant committees in accordance with statutory requirements concerning political balance. It also seeks to elect the chairs and vice chairs of the committees. In accordance with legislation, the authority is under a duty to review the allocation of seats to political groups at the annual meeting of the council. The Council Scrutiny Committee and other standing committees are confirmed in the report at paragraph 5.1.2. The current composition is shown in your reports in the table at paragraph 5.2.3, and paragraph 5.2.4 shows the allocation of seats as agreed between the political groups. You will have received some paperwork on your tables today which show the committee membership as informed by the group leaders, and in addition there'll be another document that has appendix 2 at the top, and that shows the allocation of the seats that members are asked to approve for the chairs and the vice chairs to the committees that have been set out in paragraph 5.3.1. The recommendations, Mr. Mayor, are at 2.1 to 2.5 of the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Seeking the proposer and the seconder. Councillor Ross.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Very happy to move the recommendation, political balance and allocation of seats to the political groups 2-1, 2-2, 2-3, 2-4, 2-5. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Higgins.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and congratulations as well. And very happy to second that. Also to welcome all the new groups and how they're all changing. But I think just a special mention and to welcome back Councillor Illingworth to the Planning Committee
and for his work on the committees for the forthcoming year.
Thank you, Councillor Higgins. Now I'd like to invite members to open debate by raising hands if they wish to speak. I can't see any hands. So, as approved through the earlier motion, a positive vote will be assumed by all members unless they confirm their intention to vote against or abstain. It is my intention to take the vote for the recommendations en bloc. Should you wish to vote against the recommendations, please indicate by raising your hand now. Okay, none against it. Any abstentions, please raise your hands now. No, none of them. Okay, so confirm that that is passed unanimously. Moving on to item 10, scheme of delegation and amendments to the Constitution. Back over to the monitoring officer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report seeks confirmation of the Constitution and the Officer Scheme of Delegation, which includes amendments to the Constitution as detailed in paragraph 5 of your report. In short, the amendments comprise 2 changes made using delegation, one in respect of the corporate, following the corporate restructure in November, and the second was a change to the planning committee function and procedure rules. The other changes proposed following consideration by the Constitutional Review Working Group include changes to the public speaking rules for ward members to provide greater flexibility for members wishing to make representations as ward members, changes to the council function and procedure rules, one in respect of the deadlines for the receipt of public questions to encourage greater engagement in the council's decision making and democracy, and the other is in respect of the number of questions that may be posed by members at council meetings, and that is to support openness and transparency. You'll find further details about those changes at paragraphs 5.8 and 5.10 of your report. The third change is in relation to arrangements in the absence of the leader. The fourth change is in respect of member role profiles, which are going to be added to the Constitution following a recommendation made by the LGA in their recent review. The fifth change is in respect of proper officer delegations in respect of a senior information risk officer and also appointment of the data protection officer. There's 2 officers that have been proposed as nominees for those roles, and that is to ensure that there is a separation of duties. And the final change is in respect of the financial procedure rules to make approval limit easier for budget holders. The recommendations for that report, Mr. Mayor, can be found at 2.1 to 2.5 of your report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have a proposer and seconder? Councillor Orson.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Very happy to move item 10, 10.1, scheme of delegation and amendments to the Constitution on the blue order paper, and move recommendations 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, 2.5. Thank you very much. Yeah, happy to second, and just to note my thanks to the working group. It is a very worthwhile group in terms of this, and not that I'm trying to get rid of Joe being his deputy after just being elected deputy, but I am very pleased that the working group has proposed the parts about the leader, because it would have been insensitive if we had to remove a leader who became ill and had to issue a motion of no confidence in that. So I think the wording there has taken that insensitivity out of our Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Higgins. We're now open debate. If any members wish to speak, please raise their hands. No, so there's no hands raised. So we'll go on to voting. Again, as approved through the earlier motion, a positive vote will be assumed by all members unless they confirm their intention to vote against or abstain. It's my intention to take the vote for the nomination recommendations en bloc. Should you wish to vote against the recommendations, please indicate by raising your hand now. And also, if you wish to abstain, please raise your hand now. No. Okay, so that's been confirmed as unanimous. Thank you very much. moving on to 10.2, amendments to the contract procedure rules. Councillor de Burgh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. May I offer my congratulations to you and your Deputy, Councillor Hewson, on your appointments. I think it'll be a successful year for you. Mr. Mayor, members, the Council's contract procedure rules encapsulate in a document of almost 50 pages a complex set of legislative regulations, principles and guidance, all designed to ensure that Council and its officers act in all matters of procurement in the best interests of the public it serves. The key criteria are to achieve the best value for money, to act within the law, and to protect the Council's reputation by minimising any risk or allegation of corruption, dishonesty, or failure to meet its legal obligations. Mr. Mayor, most of the changes are for relatively minor refinements, reflections of changes that have taken place over time. However, members should particularly note the changes highlighted at 6.2, 7.2, 8.2, and 15.12 of the document. These stipulate that officers may now, where appropriate, reserve a contract for goods or services within the value range of up to £189,000 to local businesses and service providers. This is a significant development designed to facilitate local businesses quoting for and winning contracts for public works within the borough. It also fits well within the priority themes set out in our corporate strategy. They are to provide excellent services that positively impact on the community, which will help to deliver sustainable and inclusive growth to the Borough of Melton. Mr. Mayor, against that background, I move on the recommendations at 2.1 of the paper that Council approves the updated contract procedure rules as outlined in Appendix A of the paper with immediate effect. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor de Burgh. Seconder, Councillor Rawson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very pleased to second item 10.2 on the blue order paper as a recommendation that Council approves an updated contract procedure rules as attached in Appendix A. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rawson. Members, over to you. If anybody has anything they want to ask about it, please raise your hands now. No, that looks like we're having a nice, easy night so far. As approved through the earlier motion, a positive vote will be assumed by all members unless they confirm their intention to vote against or abstain. Should you wish to vote against the recommendation, please indicate by raising your hand now. No. And if you wish to abstain, please raise your hand now. No, okay, that's great. So that is confirmed as unanimous. Thank you. Item 11, programme of meetings 21-22. Over again to the monitoring officer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report seeks the approval of the calendar of meetings, which I believe a copy has been provided to members this evening for the municipal year 2021-22, which must be approved at the annual council meeting. The calendar of meeting is reviewed each year to ensure compliance with statutory, financial and constitutional obligations and has taken into account bank holidays, school holidays and the council meetings of Leicestershire County Council. No changes have been provided to the current start times and you'll find the recommendation at 2.1 of your report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Do we have a proposer and seconder? Councillor Rawson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'm very pleased to move item 11, programme of meetings 2021-22. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Rawson. Councillor Higgins.
And to second, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Higgins. No. Okay, so nobody wants to ask anything. So we'll move on to, as approved earlier, the earlier motion, a positive vote will be assumed by all members unless they confirm their intention to vote against or abstain. Should you wish to vote against the recommendations, please indicate by raising your hand now. No, nobody against. If you wish to abstain, please raise your hand now. No, so that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 12, appointments of outside bodies and working groups. Over to the monitoring officer again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report requests members to note the appointments in column A of Appendix A, which you should have provided for you on the tables that you're sat at. Those have been designated in according to roles, for example, portfolio holder, ward member, etc., and also to appoint representatives to serve on the outside bodies and working groups as listed in column B. Members are reminded that appointments to any outside body should be noted on their register of interest, and a reminder will be sent within the coming weeks. I refer you to the recommendations which are provided at 2.1 and 2.2 of your report, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Proposer and seconder, Councillor Rawson.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. But just before I do propose it, I would just like to say thank you to Councillor Ronan Brown, actually. He and I have spent an awful long time, and until you've done it once yourself, you have no idea how long it takes. But getting the committee membership right, getting the representation on outside bodies and working group, phone call after phone call, and genuinely many thanks to Ronan Brown for the help he gave me on that one. I'd like to think we got there. It's impossible to suit everyone, actually, we found out, but we've done our very best. But very happy to move item 12, appointments of outside bodies and working groups on the blue order paper, page 11, and recommendations 2122. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Orson. Councillor Higgins.
And happy to second, and just a quick note on that, on the working groups there. There's a very good mix, including the council alumni of the non-aligned group for the Constitution Working Group. So I think it's a very good mix there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Higgins. Open debate. If anybody wishes to speak, please raise their hands. Go to the vote. Again, as approved earlier through the earlier motion, a positive vote will be assumed by all members unless they confirm their intention to vote against or abstain. Should you wish to vote against the recommendations, please indicate by raising your hand now. No. And if you wish to abstain, please raise your hand now. No, so no against, no abstaining. So that's passed unanimously. Thank you. Exclusion of the public and press. Council will consider whether detailed debate requiring disclosure of the exempt information is in relation to the specified items of business is required before making this resolution. It is the intention that the debate and decision on item 13 will be held in open session unless a member wishes to raise a specific query or discuss exempt appendix 1 of the report. Therefore, a resolution to exclude the public and press will only be required should this occur. So it's independent person recruitment, the monitoring officer.
You'll be pleased to hear, Mr. Mayor, this is my final report for the evening. This report, member seeks approval to appoint 6 individuals that have been listed in the recommendation to the report as independent persons. The recommendations follow a county-wide recruitment process that was undertaken on behalf with North West Leicestershire District Council, Oadby and Wigston, and Melton Borough County on behalf of Leicestershire County. It's recommended that those listed in the recommendations at 2.1 and 2.2 are appointed, and their appointments continue until the annual council in May 2025. I'm happy to take any questions on that one, Mr. Mayor, but thank you.
Any questions for the monitoring officer? No. Okay, right, so seeking a proposal seconder, Councillor Rawson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Very pleased to propose the motion, item 13, independent person recruitment on the blue order paper, recommendations 2.1 and 2.2. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Rawson. Councillor Higgins.
And to second.
Thank you, Councillor Higgins. Members, anybody wish to make comments on this, please raise your hands now. No. Okay, so as approved through the earlier motion, a positive vote will be assumed by all members unless they confirm their intention to vote against or abstain. Should you wish to vote against the recommendations, please indicate by raising your hand now. Any abstentions? No, so that is passed unanimously. Okay, thank you very much. Hang on, got the wrong page now. Okay, right, so thank you very much. The meeting is now closed. Please remain seated until officers have indicated that your row can leave.